Hey, brothers and sisters. Today is November 15th, 2020, and I had a dream from the Lord last night that I felt led to share. So, in the dream, I was inside of a room looking out a window, and I knew that I was in India. The sky was extremely cloudy, but it seemed like more than just clouds. It kind of looked like smoke was mixed in with the clouds. An old friend that I haven't spoken to in years was in the room with me, but she was lying on a bed completely asleep. I was telling her about the sky and how it looked, but she couldn't hear me because she was asleep. And even though I knew that she was still asleep, I still told her. And right by the window that I was looking out, there was a field, and I saw an Indian man with a big net. And inside of this net was a whole bunch of aluminum cans that people had thrown into the field. And he was picking them up and placing them in this big net. In the dream, I had a slight vertigo feeling as I looked up at the sky through the window. And I knew that I wasn't supposed to leave the room that I was in. So that was the dream. So I looked up India news this morning, and I found this article right here. Northern India chokes on toxic smog day after Diwali festival. Then I looked up India aluminum, and this other article came up. Indian aluminum sector knocked off course by pandemic. And I'm not going to read the entire thing, but just some of it. The Indian aluminum sector, which once stood firmly on the path of growth, today finds itself buffeted by the winds of uncertainty because of the COVID-19 pandemic. Industry leaders have suggested many measures to the India government to put the sector back on track. Indian aluminum sector calls for removal of export cap. Uppermost on the list is a request to allow an export scheme for aluminum without any cap on the total exports. The Engineering Export Promotion Council of India recently wrote to the Commerce Minister to continue with the merchandise export from the India's scheme without any limit on the aluminum exports. The change would help the sector survive the current crisis situation, the council argues. Floated last year, the government trimmed the MEIS in the fiscal relief package recently extended to exporters. The government found it unsustainable. The view is that, in general, the MEIS has failed to boost exports and capture new markets. Critics argue MEIS cut hurts Indian aluminum sector. Writing in the Financial Express, Gopalan said shrinking the MEIS had hurt the Indian aluminum industry, as the industry had to continue to rely on exports because of weak domestic demand. As such, so the government had to support aluminum exports. The only option left to the industry to sustain itself in these times of the pandemic is to export aluminum products, Gopalan said. As such, the decision to suddenly stop the MEIS, he felt, could have a debilitating impact on exporters' ability to survive under current difficult conditions. Gopalan felt it would hurt exporters that work on long-term contracts. Indian aluminum is one of the high-growth areas which could propel the nation's GDP. However, the COVID-19 pandemic has already affected India's aluminum exports. In parallel, the Federation of Indian Mineral Industries has urged the government to curb aluminum imports. Furthermore, the Federation asked the government to facilitate the tapping of rich and almost inexhaustible domestic resources by local players. Domestic primary aluminum producers such as Hindalco Industries and the Enel Arga Walid Vedanta Ltd. are already working with the government at 3 levels: primary aluminum scrap and downstream products. They have been asking the government to implement remedial measures such as anti-dumping and anti-subsidy duties, the Business Standard reported. Hindalco, the world's largest aluminum rolled products manufacturer, especially in beverage cans. So, I'm not going to read all of this, but I found that really interesting because they were aluminum cans in this net that this Indian man was collecting. And the sky that I saw was very cloudy and it looked like smoke was mixed in. And that article about the smog was just in the paper. So I'm not sure why the Lord has shown me this, but I just felt led to share it anyway. Please pray for India and pray for the lost all over the world, for all those that are sleeping and can't hear us, that they would wake up and that they would believe in Jesus and be saved. I love you guys. Hold fast.